Hello, beautiful community. Let's talk about Mr. Kadyrov's emboldened behavior and then say a word about how that might actually impact peace talks if they were to happen. Now, Mr. Kadyrov has directly spoken out against Mr. Bastrykin and Mr. Kolokoltsev. So, Bastrykin is the chairman of the investigative committee of Russia, and Mr. Kolokoltsev is the minister of interior affairs. Now, he has said that these two guys are occupying posts that don't belong to them. Talking about a case of Muslim Mirdiev, who is a teenage kid who was involved in a scuffle in a park, a Chechen kid. We don't need to bother about the details of the case, but we'll just talk about why this intervention from Kadyrov is significant. Let's quote Kadyrov. Those people who sit at the top in the investigative organs, headed by Bastrykin and Kolokoltsev, are occupying posts that don't belong to them. He has then gone on to criticize them for their anti-immigration policy. Kolokoltsev gave the command, and now the newcomers are being beaten, detained, and kicked out. And then they say that nobody wants to be friends with us. Why did we lose Ukraine? Why did we lose Georgia? Why are Russia's relations with other states so strained? They don't know, these two people, what's happening in the country because they don't travel to the regions and don't talk to people. And the Almighty will punish them. Analytically, what are you hearing, beautiful community? Prigozhinite politics. What's Prigozhinite politics? Prigozhinite politics is not offering any alternative proposal, not criticizing Putin directly, but attacking the system for all-round incompetence, for all-round incapacity to do whatever it is that it's trying to do. Now, Kadyrov also said that this boy, who is I think 13, who was involved in the park scuffle, who's on trial. This trial is going to be on the 18th of December. But this boy will be freed. It doesn't matter if this boy is guilty or not. That's completely irrelevant for us. So what is Prigozhin doing there? Kadyrov, interesting slip of the tongue. Kadyrov doing there. Kadyrov is saying that I have worked it out so that a decision of a Moscow court that hasn't happened yet will go the way I say it should. So he's directly involving himself again in national politics. We saw that already with the Wildberries story, where essentially there Kadyrov was taking a stance and pushing back against a business deal that Putin had approved. Now, it's perhaps worth a separate conversation what Kadyrov thinks he's trying to do there. This is transit politics, right? How one tries to put oneself into the kind of position one wants to be in when more things begin to move in the regime. And so he's trying to make a gain there with folks in the Caucasus region, with immigrants in Russia, with Muslims in Russia. But fundamentally what this is an example of, this is an example of inter-elite conflict in Russia. And here is why this matters for a possible peace deal. As soon as Putin stops the war, as soon as the fighting stops, this kind of internal conflict will multiply in Russia. That's to say, the kind of diminution of power that Putin already experienced before the war, his power to referee conflict within his regime, the kind of diminution that partly was a reason for Putin starting the war. So he can grasp more power back into his hands, even though he was now going to hold that power with greater fragility than before. Right? But that sort of process of Putin's diminution of his capacity to arbitrate and referee elite conflicts and the consequent multiplication of inter-elite conflicts, with Putin being a more passive figure as they occur, that stuff will accelerate fivefold if Putin stops the war. I've just picked a random number, but the point is the point that needs to be made. And Putin's question is to Trump, why am I going to do that? Why am I going to do something that will accelerate the diminution of my power in the regime? I'm not just going to do it for no reason. You have to give me some goodies, but what is it that you're going to give me? Or how is it that you're going to threaten me? Well, you're going to flood Ukraine with weapons? I don't believe you can do that. So what are you going to give me for me to do, to put myself in that position? I'm going to need something juicy. Otherwise, it's irrational for me to do so. Enough. Lots of love and talk very soon.